Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Agile Network India's December 2021 events. We are now beginning with the second half of day one, and we have Ahmedabad chapter bringing an interesting panel discussion about modern day HR. We have Nidhi Thakrar who is going to facilitate this session, and along with her, we have Dr. Ankita Singh, Parth Dokai, Naman Patel, and Mohit Gupta in the panel. And now I would like to call upon the panel and I would like to now hand it over to Nidhi from here and would like to call upon all the panelists on the webcam and microphone. Over to you, Nidhi.
Okay, hello, welcome everyone. Let me first introduce myself. Myself, Nidhi Chakrar. I have been with Agile Network India around almost a year, and I am into the project and program management. But today it is not about me. Today we are going to discuss about a topic where everyone will be interested and everyone will have so many questions for sure. So let me introduce you to our topic. We mostly believe that HR is a thankless job. We just do not understand what it goes to run entire organization and keep everyone happy. We never say thank you to an HR if a thing is well done. We just always go ahead and complain. Yet they have the motivation to come to office every day and stand in front of us trying to resolve our problem or at least listen to them and respond. So, without taking further time, let me introduce you to our talented and very well experienced panelist, Ankita. Ankita,
Yes, Heidi.
Ankita, will you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Nidhi. So I work with Signex Datamatics as a senior vice president and global head of HR and remaining, um, enabling functions. Have been associated with the same group for last 17 years, and I think I've enjoyed every bit of it. I've seen myself growing with the organization, and I think a very valid point which Nidhi spoke about that probably there's still some disconnect between what actually HR does and what people think HR is doing. And but if we talk about today's scenario, I think both the sides, the non-HR people have accepted and understood, why HR exists in the system. And I think HR has also changed or molded the definition of HR from just being operational people and moving to a more business role. So that has been seen, and we wish to talk more about it in our discussion. Thank you, Nidhi.
Okay. Parth, would you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much, Nidhi. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, first of all. My name is Par Dokai, and I have been in the market since past more than 8 years now. Basically, an engineer, and did not understand engineering, and that's how the HR happened to me because I actually wanted to be on the other side of the table. Speaking about my journey, I have a very short journey compared to the people present here. I was fortunate enough to get my first major break, I would say, with eClinical Works, where I stayed there for around a good 5 years, and that was kind of a game-changing company for me because I stayed there for 5 years and I learned almost everything from, let's say, the talent acquisition to employee grievances, employee handling, kind of HRBP stuff, and then I was also exposed to the other part of operations and the other HR functions. So basically, I probably have touch based almost everything in HR but payroll is something I have not done it, and I probably am not fond of, because I don't understand numbers that way. And then I moved to comparatively a smaller setup after the clinical works. That was again IT, where I spent around 2 good years with that smaller setup. I could understand how the smaller setup works because eClinical Works was a different tangent compared to that particular company. And then I was again fortunate to get my hands on with Sterlite because Sterlite, again, it's one of the renowned companies in Ahmedabad. So that was a brief stint. I was working as a program manager, and that was only 5 months tenure which I had with Sterlite. And then right now I am with True Tech Business Solutions as the HR manager. Speaking about this room, probably I'm the youngest in the room, so in terms of experience and age, I would prefer to be more of a listener than a speaker. And yeah, really excited to be among industry veterans too, and looking forward for a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Naman, may I request you to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Nidhi, and hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on this panel. It's a wonderful opportunity to share our experience. And about me, I've been having 15 plus years of experience as a professional. I'm an IT engineer also, like you, Parth. Somewhere down the line, we took a call that, okay, this is something which is not, sufficient for us. So I started exploring my journey. I've been to Australia, I've been to US, now I'm in India. I work in retail, I work with Future Group, I work with ICFAI, I have worked with Euroschool. So, all the industry, majority industry I have covered. And right now, I'm a founder director for VA Services, where my main focus is on human resource, understanding human resource, how to put it right use, performance management, I would say, or getting, making sure people drive themselves to achieve their goals in life. And things are not that bad. Professional life is not confusing, not it's not highly pressurized. So there's a lot you can do if you change your perspective, and that's all my focus is. To change perspective, the motivation, inspiration will follow. So that's a little bit about me and what I do.
Okay, now Mohit. Mohit, you are on mute.
Okay. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Mohit Gupta. I'm very excited to be a part of the panel member in this session of modern day HR. I think this is need of an hour, organized by Agile Network India. Just a quick background about myself. I have completed my MBA in HR and marketing. I also completed MCOM and then GNIT from NIT in 1999. But then when I completed GNIT and being a kind of hardcore software engineer, I decided this is not the field I want to be in. I'm a person who would love to interact with people, who want to be a part of the journey of every employee, where they are thinking about how to take their career to the next level, how to get a right job, how I can do differently. So I wanted to be part of all that thing. So that's the reason I choose the HR as my profession. uh, just to give a quick background about my professional career, I carry 16 plus years of experience working in HR, especially in IT industry only. Currently, I'm associated with Synoptic as a director HR. It was formerly known as Indusha Technology, and we are a 20 plus year old company with 1,000 plus employee strength, working on IT application development and consulting. I recently joined this company and I'm heading the HR function here and responsible for driving the strategic initiative of HR and managing the overall gamut of people function here. Previously, I worked with Sterlite Technologies, have seen the acquisition of Elite Core, Sterlite acquired Elite Core, and I was part of all that integration. I've seen the demerger of CyberRoam, that was acquired by Sophos. So I've seen company acquiring some other company and then demerger of other companies. So I've seen that. With that company, I have spent majority of my years, 8.5 years, so I started as a TA manager, then I took over HR operations and to an employee life cycle. I then moved into a business partnering role. And then lastly, I was involved in creating the overall HR shared service model for Sterlite, and I was heading the division. Before that, I worked with Future Group, again, a biggest group in India, retail giant, Big Bazaar Pantaloon Group. And before that, I was working with Kira Infotech. It was a US consulting company. So this is just a quick glimpse about myself. Thanks.
Wow,
Thanks.
it is going to be pretty interesting discussion. I can sense that we have the diverse panel members available. So I would not take further time. And as Ankita said previously, that HR role has been changed so over the time, and this pandemic has created a different challenges and altogether different environment for us and for HR team to adjust. So I would like to ask my first question to Ankita, how difficult it is to lead remotely while making sure that the productivity and the trust is there, and what your experience has been so far with the remote employees.
So, Nidhi, I think everybody would say that it started with the challenge. The fact is, trusting people while they are working from home and they are not sitting in front of us, because we are so habitual, we are so used to it, that people are sitting right in front of us. And for every single thing, we can walk up to them and ask them, oh, so how's it going? Where have you reached? What is the problem? Now, suddenly, forget about being in the same office, they're just not in front of us. People start questioning that actually how many hours you are working, why you are not able to be in front of the system for 8 hours. You know what your office hours are. So this is exactly how we started with. So fact is, it's definitely not an easy task to believe people or go in the trust mode immediately. Now, COVID 19 actually didn't leave us with many options. No matter how uncomfortable leaders were, remote work was the only way out. So, you talk about develop trust or a forced trust, we literally had to live with that scenario. So, not easy, but people had adjusted and they have now adjusted to that mode of working where they have probably taken few simple steps to fit in the business. Experience wise, if you ask me, I would say be it managers or the employees, first thing they all accepted that this is the scenario and you can't change much. So you understood and adapted to the need of the time as well as the people around you, be it your manager or your reportee. Second is we moved out from the conventional approach to a relevant approach, which is more real. We so much understood that probably this is not the best approach, but at the same time, we know that this can't be made to a real scenario. We had so many restrictions. Third is, earlier we were very set with the processes and policies. While people started working remote, we literally had to move from generalized to personalized approach. We had set in the tools which people could use, but we always understood that the human aspect has to be attached because we are not dealing with machines. And the last point, or the fourth point, I would say, to deal with people who are working from home, and when we talk about productivity, many or probably almost all managers would agree that the simplest or the most relevant solution was we move from time based to output based approach, where we stopped actually monitoring the watch, that whether you are sitting in front of the system for 8 hours or not. People understood that there's no balance, but there's more of integration of work life, and there could be time when you are managing your family during your office hours, but you will work when you are able to, and when you are sitting at home, not everything can be as per your office setup. So managers move to output based approach, then time based, and that has really helped. And when I talk to my peers or my team members, they say the same thing, that can you actually um, time it? Can you monitor it? Probably not. Can you trust people, give them work, support or enable them in all possible manner and ensure that we talk about what they have achieved? Is that doable? Everybody has said yes. So I think that's the experience and the solution.
Yeah, very well said. Like, I totally agree. It just strike my mind as well that we have been forced to trust that people will work. So yeah, very true. But do you have any opinion or any thoughts of yours which you can add?
Right. I mean, couldn't agree more, Dr. Ankita, because that was very well said and laid out. Because the trust has gone for a toss, especially with the new joiners. Because in these 2 years, there have been the attrition and the recruits have been at zenith, and I feel that the trust went for a toss with the new joiners comparatively, as they are virtually onboarded, due to which there is no physical meeting or a communication, which kind of I feel I see that as an impediment for building that rapport trust, which could have been built in person compared to the virtual setup. And that's how the teammates and the leaders have that communication gap and the understanding gap as well. That's what I feel. And also leader on the other hand will always have difficulty finding out in this virtual setup whether his teammate or her teammate is having a bad day due to some personal reason or some xyz reason. And as the teammate wouldn't be because physically they won't be available, which can actually aid the communication and makes things a little easier for both the parties. So in nutshell, the peripheral value of being physically present in the workplace or in the professional setup. That KTs or that informal breaks, the tea coffee breaks, all of those things have been lost. And that's where I feel the leadership also kind of has become difficult. And if the things are not improving in future, people might have to think about the approach of the leadership. That's pretty much about my opinion with this particular question.
Yeah, very true. So this leads to me my next question. Like, as we know, we are not sure when the employee will be working, but we would need to judge them based on a productivity. So sometimes what happen is manager is expecting few things to be get done because he is also under himself a lot of pressure that he needs to deliver something, but it might not happen. So Naman, my question is for you: how do you help the managers who are themselves under a fire?
See, it's a question which answer it takes probably 3 to 4 days to explain. So I'll not get into detail of what and how. What I'll try to do is try to give you in perspective about two separate things. Inspiration and being under fire. Okay, we have to separate this two phenomena because it works differently to every individual. So there is no simple system or a process for a one team or for a one company to be stress free. Okay, if you ask, if one of my client approach me and say, Naman, I have an issue, my managers are not inspired enough, the productivity is down. I say, okay, this is the time to look into a selection process. The first thing I'll do, how do you select your managers? You know, how do you promote your managers? It's, we misunderstand that, once we become in charge, it's not about me. It's about people whom I'm in charge for. So this kind of perspective which changes your approach as a manager. You look at the situations surrounding differently. And now when you talk about being under fire, I mean, we all are always under fire. The simplest thing, we have to wake up at 6 a.m. You are under pressure. Okay, you put your alarm, right? You make sure that it is clearly loud, and so you can wake up. You have to brush your teeth, right? Imagine a 6 months old child or maybe 1.5 year old child, to make them brush themselves, how difficult it is for that particular child. He would be under tremendous amount of pressure to perform a simple task. So, but eventually, we all do that now. We don't feel the same system which we gone through it as a pressure situation. A fresher, a new employee joins a company, he has lots of fire in his belly. It is good to be put him on a fire, to get the best results out of it. But the problem comes when he becomes a manager, the fire is gone. Okay, so that's why I say, selecting your manager, it's the first step. Somebody should review it. If you feel there's not enough inspiration in your team or people are not able to be productive as you are expected, because if I'm an IT engineer working at home, if I have to complete certain codes, I'm under pressure and I'm supposed to be under pressure because there's a deadline I have to complete. I'm getting paid for that. So it is nothing, we have to stop criticizing, pressure, work pressure as a bad thing. It's necessary. Without that, you cannot perform. So it is extremely important for business owners and the employees and all the leaders to understand this simple concept of what is stress and what is not stress. I would say I would not like to work in a company which is stress free. That's a dead zone, nothing happening. Okay, so again, so we have to change our perspective towards stress, how to deal with stress. Once we change the perspective, dealing with the stress is very simple steps. Same thing, the key to overcome the stress is practice. You have to practice so many activities to overcome or to learn how to deal with stress and enjoy it, embrace it. It is part of my life. If I have to wake up and brush, I don't feel pressurized. The same way, once you start practicing certain habits, it's not enough time for me to get into habits and explain on that. So I'm just gonna, as I said, I'll try to keep it brief. Otherwise, this is a very interesting topic. I can go on and on. So, to just give you another small story, I try to finish the story in 2 minutes. We all know Mahabharata, right? We all know the characters. We love them, we hate them. And if I ask question to anyone who's listening to this video, who is the baddest character in Mahabharata? Most of us will say Shakuni, right? He was the instigator of the entire Mahabharata fight. But if you have understood the other side of the story, where he was forced to eat flesh of his peers, just imagine the sorrow and the horror of that situation. And no fault of his. He has gone through that. So what he did is natural. Every one of us would have done the same thing. The Bhishma is supposed to be, the honest guy, and the truth teller, the balancer. He is the one who put them into house arrest. We all know the story, right? But then again, if you look at from the different perspective, it is not about right or wrong anymore. It is not about hero and villain. The same thing. We don't have to justify fear or stress as a villain. It's a part of my life. Without that, I'm nobody. So we have to deal, we have to learn, we have to practice. We should have a courage to stand up and to perform to our ability. And what is expected us, it's natural. So that is what I can share in limited time what I have. So don't see it as a bad thing, as a villain. Embrace it as a part of your life. It is a normal thing which will happen. You will go through lots of pressurized situation. Learn to deal with it, practice, prepare, and plan. So that's the basically what I normally advise to all my clients, that this is how, let's change the perspective. The remaining performance will follow automatically.
Very well said. I completely agree. It's not about being under a fire. It is totally about seeing the right perspective and work on it. Ankita, I would like you to add your insights over here as well.
I think Naman has beautifully added, using example of something which we all can relate to. Uh, when a person is the manager level, obviously he or she would hold much more responsibility than we even assume or we probably think. Obviously, we expect that leadership has to contribute or work when you see some kind of stress or a person who is already handling too much. I would, from the organization perspective, I would suggest or I would say that we need to follow few simple steps just to try, if at all we can help those managers. One is by communicating and understanding what the reality is, because sometimes we do understand that this is the work that has to be done and you already have a team, but we miss on the facts that have we actually enabled them properly with the process or the support that they seek from HR or from the management. That has to be clearly put down and understood from the people who are working on it. The situation is such, COVID we have seen, and forget about COVID, throughout the year, maybe some of the team member is going through some problem, and which will directly or indirectly, be a problem for the manager as well, because finally he's handling the entire team and he has to find a substitute. There could be, I mean, this is probably the stress problem, but there could be many things. And still, if they are handling their project or if they're handling their work and their people, management or organization should not missing on acknowledging the contribution, no matter how small it is. So we do tell that this has not happened, but sometimes it happened, from our end, that we miss telling them that yes, you are important and you are doing your part. Third, I would say we need to be flexible in our processes and policies. Few places I have seen we are too stringent with our processes when we talk about HR processes, when we talk about statutory compliances. Obviously, those cannot be mismatched. But at the same time, suppose if a person is on leave and the leaves are going to lapse by the end of the year, and a manager walks up to you and says, this person had worked throughout the year and he was not able to use all the leaves. Can we just, pass it on to the next year? Being HR, there is a possibility we would say, no, we can't do that because that's the policy. Why can't we do it? So we need to find those bends where we can listen to their issues and we can help them in all possible ways, be it leaves, overtime, or awards, anything which can support the individual with their practices. Fourth point, I would say we need to be transparent. A lot of times we expect a manager to handle their core work, but we do not tell them what the organization is doing what is planned. If probably today is the pressure, we are not expecting the same for the coming months, or after 3 months things will be better. If you need extra support, take it, but this is the impact that we are seeing for next 2 months or 3 months. Later things will be fine, so just don't worry, we are very much around. So that comfort has to be given, which probably sometimes we miss. Fifth and the last point, I would say, by doing what is needed, not by doing what we feel is required. By HR, I mean, sometimes we think that this is the culture of the organization and that will probably fit for a particular team as well, which may not be the reality. So you need to speak to the person who we feel is under stress and already handling too many things. That what do you need from us, instead of providing 100 things that may sound good to HR or management, but is of no use to him. So to conclude, I would say that we think that they come with superpower, and a manager is a manager. We forget that a manager at the end of the day is also an employee, and even that individual has to be treated as an employee who can come up with a lot of problems and should not be the single person who holds all the burden of ensuring the project and the people are managed without any stress. So
Yeah,
that's my take.
I'm really surprised, and I'm really surprised and happy to hear that apart from recognition, we are also looking to modify our processes to make sure that employees are staying healthy and happy. Now, my question is like, we have seen the pandemic has forced us to work remotely, and now the things are changing as well. We have to get our employees back in the office as pandemic is almost about finished. So, Mohit, I would like to get your opinion on that. How easy do you think that it is? Employees will be willing to come back, and what challenges you are seeing to get them working in office?
Very easy question, very tough answer. I think everyone is just thinking, how we will deal with this situation and how we will bring back the employees. Still, let me try to attempt and give a little quick answer or a crisp answer so that I can be in my time. So for all the companies around the world, the onset of the pandemic and shutting off the office in March last year was beyond their imagination. All of them, wondered how things will work out, right? And now, after kind of almost 1.5+ year or close to 2 years now later, when things have actually turned out well, the gradual opening of offices yet again posing a challenge before them. Some are eager to go back to office, like a few people are really interested in coming back to office, while others are just thinking, and they are preferring to work from their comfort of home. So every company and employer and HR, I will say, the managers and HR, we both are grappling with some tough questions. Will the back to work will be smooth, or it is going to be very challenging? Now, if I talk about the employee perspective, and what employee needs, you know, and there are a lot of surveys are happening around the globe, and a lot of service outcomes are coming. Most employees want hybrid culture, you know, flexibility to work from home and office both. It is not just they need full flexibility. There is one survey which has run. 40% of the employees expect to work from office premise only up to 3 to 4 days a week, and not even 5 days a week from office. So that kind of flexibility people are thinking about. A big chunk of employees also want to work from office as well. So it is not like everyone wants that hybrid model, but yeah, few those who are struggling to operate from home, they still really want to go back to office. So it all has also triggered a debate, like about what is the best way to work, and does working from home affect productivity? A large chunk of worker is now expecting a hybrid work culture where they have a freedom to work from both the places. According to NASCOM survey, hybrid is the preferred choice of around 70% of the organization. Work from home culture has also helped employees save on traveling cost, time, and not just this, many have also saved on rent. Like many of them have just moved out from metros to their hometown, and they are working, they are living with their family, they are working from anywhere. Like people go to Haridwar nowadays, they go to Goa, and they operate 30 days from there. They operate Rishikesh, they go to Rishikesh and operate from 30 days from there. The kind of that flexibility they are enjoying. So companies are trying to strike balance between the needs of employees and also those of their clients as well, because sometimes clients also need, a good, kind of environment, and which probably, they are not able to get it from the work from home scenario. The question is why companies want their employees to start operating from office, right? So this is also again a good debatable question. Mainly the two things, uh, they have to manage their critical function. Few functions, though, we have given the flexibility during the COVID time, but now probably 100% work from home is not possible. So from critical business functions I talk about, company need, people to get back, and they're also worried about their organization culture, because the culture which exists when people are surrounded with all the, people, that's a different culture, and working from home, it's a totally a different culture. And some few companies are also struggling with the data security. Product companies are struggling with that. If they give the flexibility, there is the issue of data security. So most IT companies in India have also started calling employees back to office. So you will see a lot of things are in the news, like TCS is calling employees back. Infosys are prioritizing, strategizing their theories around this. So company also hope that it will reduce workers' ability to attend job interviews, because again, work from home is triggering a very high attrition. Like people are free to take interviews at any point of time. Like they will be just away for half an hour. They're giving the interviews at different locations. So companies also hope that it will reduce the workers' ability, to attend frequent interviews, because it's very easy, when you're working from home to give the interview. And maybe they will be able to reduce certain attrition, because right now, average IT industry, and I'll just talk about IT because I have spent my 15 years in IT only. Average attrition is crossing 30%. Some have crossed 60% as well if you talk about different companies. But yeah, average is 30% now. So, now what different people want at a different grade, employee want to come to office only just for a kind of change. Like I want to go to office just for a change, I'll meet around people and then I want to come back to office. They want to enjoy flexibility, again, people will also leave if we ask them to come to office. Maybe they will leave because of that reason, and they will choose the company which company is providing them the flexibility, right? So that is again going to be going to cause a lot of problems. And few may still want to come to office as they don't enjoy work from home and they're not able to focus. So these are the few things which are going around, and people are talking about it. Uh, Currently, there is no clear verdict right now. The problem of work from home is company side. Because this has reduced the bonding with the company. If I'm not going to office, probably I'm not very connected with my employer, and I'm at a risk at any point of time, in 6 months or 1 year. If company is giving me another good offer, then I'll switch, right? So they are not attached and they can leave at any point of time. Again, work from home has removed the boundaries between workplace and the personal space. So that is also causing a problem. And maybe from the employer side, we are thinking COVID was okay. Maybe productivity was gone on a peak, but maybe in a long run we will not be able to sustain it. So maybe if you see, the graph will go down of productivity. And many companies will believe work, in office work, they will be, employees will be more productive as well. So employer side is this, when we want to call employees to office. So if I just give a crux what is going to work, probably there is no right formula. But yeah, the thing is, flexibility is the only secret ingredient here, for any return work to plan. So we have to be very flexible, when we are thinking back, when we want to call our employees back to office. So thinking back over the last few months, it's easy to see that one skill that employers and employee needed more than anything was flexibility. Now we had no choice but to be flexible to stay operational and productive. Some individuals, displayed impressive degrees of flexibility and ingenuity, and some home office setup would have made us proud. Uh, Others use flexibility to, mentally adapt and create a new view of the world at work to stay focused. Uh, Given the changed circumstances, but all of it has been necessary to thrive in the new world around us. So, I think we have to decide the right strategy, for the right group of people. So we cannot operate, in a case-to-case basis. So companies that will be able to strike a great balance between the need of the individual and the needs of the company will succeed and reap incredible rewards associated with the employee engagement and commitment. I advise to the company to start now with defining the parameters of your flexibility so that you don't have to operate case by case. So we have to define a proper hybrid model, a proper policy, so that we can think about starting the office again. So I think I am not sure whether I've given the right answer or wrong answer, but I tried to give the perspective.
No, you exactly give us an insight. Like it is not as easy to say that I want to work from home, I want to come office. There are so many parameters which needs to be balanced to make sure that we are serving the customer right and we have people happy as well. Naman, would you like to add anything on here?
Yeah, sure. I strongly believe that this is an opportunity for HR people. It's a golden opportunity to rewrite our processes and system. Hybrid model, yes, agreed. It is a way forward. But working from home, is it good for everybody? Answer is no. There are certain people at certain level you want them to be back in office. And trust me, they are also eager to come back to an office, right? So it's not going to be a difficult to get anybody to come to office or not to come to office. But the thing is that whom do we allow to come to office and where we can be flexible enough for people to work from at home. Let's just give you an example. Let's say I'm in Ahmedabad, okay? I'm we still have lots of families staying together. Like there are 6 guys, there's 6 human beings staying in one 2 BHK or 3 BHK apartment. You have like let's say 6 by 6 space to set up your small office. You're not gonna be productive as much as you can be productive when you're in office. You are isolated. Your focus is there. You're able to perform better. So we have to think that also in our mind. And the point which Mohit made, people giving frequent interviews, and leaving the company, this phenomenon not going anywhere for next 6 to 9 months at least. People are gonna jump around because this is the time for them to make money. So like every good businessman, this is a golden period of all IT guys, especially from like 3 years to 8 years of experience, are the chunk which is jumping around here and there. I mean, I say it is good and it is a bad. It has both the parameters, but again, eventually this will settle down. So, even for an employee, you have to think how much is enough for me? Where do I settle down? If I keep jumping, there would be time, there would be nobody in the industry to hire you. You may have enjoyed the perks right now because of the time period, but then eventually this will settle down. This will come down. The pandemic has come in. Everybody's getting digital, digitization. Everybody's focusing on digital transformation. And that's the reason the IT is on the high demand. But eventually, when everybody's upgraded this system, the new products are in place, everybody is trained, everybody is performing, the automation going to take control over the system. Right now, where we are struggling to find the people, when that happens, what happens to this bunch of people who are not performing and who believes working from home is the best thing can happen? So again, be cautious what you decide to do, to go to office or not to go office. Yes, it is a golden period, make a best out of it, but then again, understand where do I have to stop, where do I have to settle my ship. And end of the day, the people who perform, they will progress. Okay, and as an individual, it is my decision to see that am I performing better in the office environment where I have my colleagues, where my boss is right next to you. If something happens, I can just walk and go and talk to him, or I can have a cup of coffee during my breaks and chat with, be socialized with my other colleagues. The culture is the bonding, I would say glue for every organization. So culture is the main reason for any company to grow. So are we able to sustain that culture with the current system and processes, working remotely or working from office or having a hybrid? That's all, the HR, all of us have to put our brains down and see the future, see the challenges we have, not only for us as HR, but also for the employees who are coming in or going out or staying at home, or the future progress. So it is something to be debated, decided individually for each company, each team. It's a different system, but then again, there has to be overall system which combines everyone together. And if everyone should have a same kind of experience. I have seen so many examples where employees are calling their bosses, oh, my internet is down, oh, I just got a blackout, so I can't operate. So again, all those factors we have to keep in our mind. The policies are such that you should have a certain type of infrastructure. You should have certain type of devices with you if you want to work at home. You should have a certain amount of space where you can isolate yourself. 100% isolate. So these are the new policies, new ways we have to look in. I would say hybrid model. Western countries may be more successful than India because India has our own challenges. So again, we should not be all excited about hybrid or feel bad about it. Just take a case by case. What Mohit has rightly put it out. Don't have a single stick for all solutions or all problems. So meet your people, understand the challenges, work out a solution, and give them the space to perform. End of the day, that's what matters, and that's what we are here for, to drive the performance of everybody. So that's again, it's more say it's not a right or wrong answer. Again, it's just how you take it up, from this point onwards. That's what defines you, your organization, and your future growth.
Very well said. So it seems like the hybrid is just a start, and in future we would be working in altogether and a different model, and which will be evaluated and matured enough to make sure that everyone is happy. Now, talking about future path, I have a question for you. What do you think, apart from the obvious parameters like data, processes, protocols, could be the standout factor from the HR's perspectives in the future?
Thank you so much, Nidhi. It is actually the interesting one. I was waiting for this question because I was kind of thinking on the similar lines where it doesn't have to do something with the data or the protocols, any findings, but rather something to do with people. And so to answer your question, there is no magical door at any office's doorstep or entrances which could prevent people to keep their the personal aspects of their lives away from the professional setup. I mean, they'll bring their whole self. And it is also practically not possible to have that segregation of personal and professional lives, even if we try hard enough. I mean, it is a myth to keep the professional and the personal lives apart. And that's where I feel it is more relevant than ever to speak about the employees' mental health or their mental well-being. Why? Because the times which we are coming from in these past 2 years have been nothing less than a roller coaster for everyone. I mean, in this virtual room also, if you speak to anyone, if you talk to anyone, you'd get to know that there will be someone from their acquaintances or their close relatives or their loved ones who lost their lives due to COVID. I mean, which also created a void, and they themselves or their family members went through that physical, mental, or the financial trauma as well, right? And that's why I feel it is apt or to it is apt to talk or be concerned about the employees' mental health, because we are kind of now resuming back to normal where people have started to work from office or are in a hybrid setup but not entirely working from home. And I feel that's also the reason why I feel that the that one particular role which would change the entire equation for the organization and the HR department would be the HR come counselor role, because I feel that that would be the need of the hour in the coming times. And this particular role I believe would prevail in the times to come and in near future. The rationale, if you ask me, here is simple. As today, 8 out of 10 companies, maybe the majority of the companies provide good benefits, perks, good policies, good bonuses, whatnot. I mean, even in today's times, if you ask about the appraisals or the hikes, they are beyond 100% or 80%. I mean, 30% is 30% is obsolete right now. Everyone is getting 80, 100% if you talk to developers, if you talk to the IT guys. And then why would the prospective employees, if we think that or a prospective candidate will be gravitated or would be interested towards working for us, towards working with a certain employer? In this dilemma, this could be the game changing factor from any organization or any HR's perspective, because this is what I feel that it'll kind of change the entire game for the corporate, especially the IT companies. And now since cricket is kind of an emotion or a religion to us Indians, I'll try relating a couple of instances which I read in one of the articles, and I'll try relating those cricketing instances with the corporate, as I feel that it'll be easier for audience to connect the dots more vividly. So there was this piece about the two cricketers. I read about in an article where it was mentioned that the two overseas cricketers which went on a sabbatical for more than a year or so. I'm not sure about the exact tenure though. Pardon me with the tenure, but they did go on sabbatical. And the two players which I'm talking about is Glenn Maxwell and Ben Stokes. They represent Australia and England. For the unversed and for the people who are not aware, probably they represent Australia and England, and they also play in IPLs too. So Ben Stokes went on a sabbatical in somewhere in early July this year, and the reason he stated was he actually wanted to prioritize his mental health. And same goes for the Australian cricketer Glenn Maxwell, who went on a break in somewhere at the dawn of COVID, when the it was COVID was just starting to spread. At that point in time, due to the bio bubble they themselves were in, he actually wanted to prioritize his own mental health. So till the moment I read about these two cricketers, I used to always believe in an adage which says that do what you love and you will never work even for a single day. But after reading about them, my perspectives took a little shift, and it got changed a bit. Why? Because the reason for their sabbatical was their mental health, which went for a toss. And right now they are one of the best all rounders the world has, which also means that they love their sport, they still love their job, and yet they went on a sabbatical for a while. They want to spend some time kind of away from cricket, do basically anything and everything under the sky but cricket. They actually want to stay away from the field and spend some time with the family members in order to recoup and come back stronger. So now, if I compare the cricketing or these scenarios with a corporate, even our best coders or employees must be loving their jobs. And paradoxically, though, they too may need they might need a little break or something from all of these. Now, having said that, do you think our employees would be able to afford a long sabbatical as the cricketers? I don't think so, because it might create a financial dent in their pockets. So let's say, even let's say, in the worst case scenario, the best case scenario, even if they can afford, it is highly likely, given the current society scenario or the society equation, that they would explicitly come out and seek an external help. Therefore, this is where I feel the HR counselor role in corporates would do wonders in the near future, as the employees know that they can go and talk to a certain set of people where they can vent and talk anything and everything under the sky. And we all know a little communication, or those informal meetings, those formal meetings with employees in the regular intervals will go a long way, which we all probably agree to. Of course, when I talk about this role, this is something which is very crucial. Not anyone and everyone can be deployed to perform this role, as this tags along a lot of confidentiality and the severity, for the matter of fact, and someone with only the subject matter would be able to justify this role. Someone with that empathy and the necessary skill set to perform this role, having that HR perspective also, the HR perspective role is also something which they might want to incorporate along with the empathy skills. So in nutshell, I feel that uh, employers and the HR department can think of accommodating this role in their hierarchy in the near future, as this could be a factor which may change everything for an employer or the companies, from let's say, from the retaining or from recruitment perspective, or let's say even as basic as the word of mouth of the existing employees, because obviously your employees will feel proud while working for a certain company which takes care of their mental well-being or their mental health, and when they have a specific department about it. I mean, I can as I with in the interest of larger audience, I can go on and on, but I shall stop here. And yeah, thank you so much for hearing me out so patiently. I'm grateful that I could get this platform to express my views. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it seems like we have almost run over one minute to our allocated time, and we still have so many questions from the members, and I still have so many questions for you guys to ask. But it seems to be we might have to be another session, modern day HR too. That might be somewhere we will be able to do the justice to the questions which has been already asked and what else we have to ask. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being present. And I'm really sorry that we could not take any questions from the chat box. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Naman, Mohit, Ankita, Parth, and Nidhi for the wonderful facilitation. As Nidhi has mentioned correctly, we might need to do the panel discussion 2.0 on modern day HR and get more questions answered, because it's something very interesting and people like to know more about it, what's happening in this particular field. So thank you so much. And with that, we come to the end of this session.